I'm your host, Rich Purcell, the Director of Business Development at LeagueMed, and I have with me Dr. Sima Yakoby Epstein, an
Hi.
orthodontist and entrepreneur, and we're really excited to talk to Sima about her career. And Sima, just to give you an outline of what we're going to do today, we're going to have a little conversation about some things.
Mhm.
And at the end, we'll see if we can do 5 questions in 5 minutes. And some of these questions will repeat from our
Okay.
conversation. So thanks a lot for joining us here today. What motivated you to be a dentist and an orthodontist? And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, first of all, Richard, happy and healthy New Year. Thank you so much for having me speak with you and have a conversation. I'm excited for the 5 questions in 5 minutes. I'm up for the challenge. But as for me, I think the reason I became an orthodontist is very early on in my life. I was in a terrible car accident, and having immigrant parents, it was very hard navigating where the right doctor was, who to go to, how to trust who was the right, establishment to be able to help me through this very difficult time. And I think it was those very powerful moments along the way that my father helped me. It just showed that, he was able to take a lot of those vulnerabilities and make those challenges into successes. And it also taught me to be able to just figure things out on my own. And more importantly, to really want to help people when they're most vulnerable. And it became a really superpower of mine that I really wanted to be able to help people so badly, in especially when they were the most stressed, and give them solutions, just like my dad had taught me with so
That's
many
lovely.
examples.
That's nice. I mean, you grew up in New York, and you say you're daughter of immigrants. What was that like?
Well, you know what? It's interesting. I didn't know any different. Like we probably, I wore my brother's clothings. I used their
Where did your parents come from?
my Georgia, the country. They were from Tbilisi, Georgia.
Okay.
And, my father was a taxi driver. He worked very hard. My mother was a doctor in Georgia. So when she came here, she
Oh,
basically raised, 3 children. And they worked together as a family, a team. They, 24 hours a day. And so for me, I learned a lot about, work ethic and, living the American dream. My father was able to establish some medallions and essentially have a fleet of cabs.
oh,
Um, but
great.
it was very humbling growing up in Queens, and seeing a lot of, different types of people and cultures and socioeconomic.
More languages spoken in Queens than any place on earth.
That's
Uh,
exactly right.
yeah,
So
it's a melting pot of America.
that's
People
exactly right.
coming to North. So you're Georgian, Khachapuri or Kinkali?
Ah, Khachaburi. Oh my God, how do you know that?
I understand food. I love food.
Oh, wow. Well, Georgian food is very, very delicious. A little.
What's your favorite?
Well, me personally, I love horsis khinkali, but I also like something called satsivi, which is really delicious, or bazistolma, which is really nice. And everyone,
Well, you'll have to come over to my kitchen and teach
yeah.
me how to cook some
Oh,
Georgian food. That would be a lot of fun.
yeah.
So, you were a dentist in aesthetics, and then you went back to school and became an orthodontist. What made you do that?
Yeah, so becoming a dentist was, amazing. Working as a cosmetic dentist was so much fun. But, I realized that there was something that was missing as for me being a doctor that I wanted to be able to give more of. And I found that it really was something that orthodontics would be able to provide, meaning to be in a child's life at such a young age and to be able to have that relationship with them for over the course of 2, 3 years. I really wanted that connection with families. I really thought that that was critical in terms of being a really good doctor. I felt it was important to kind of, see where they would start and the excitement of where they would end up, with their
Right.
confidence, with their smile,
And
and
something to show at the end of the day,
yeah.
right?
So yeah, it was just a more powerful, a more a deeper, meaningful relationship that I was missing,
Okay.
and being just a cosmetic or aesthetic dentist. So I thought that that was something that would fill me up, and it did. It
And,
definitely.
and then you found needs in the orthodontist space, and you've made a transition to be an entrepreneur and to start this brand new company, Ortho New.
Mhm.
Why don't you tell us about that idea, that spark
Mhm.
that made you decide to become an entrepreneur and use your experiences as an orthodontist to start Ortho New?
Yeah, so I remember it very vividly. Multiple patients asking me, do you have anything, for my dry mouth? Do you have anything for my ulcers? Do you have anything, to help me, with the inflammation of my gums and the pain? And they're, looking in this goodie bag, and there was nothing in there that I could
Right,
tell them that I had for them. And it just kind of, it made me consider, like, maybe I can create something that can really solve for these pain points that all these patients are asking about. And then I thought about all the emergency calls and the fact that, we would, say, oh, toenail clipper or plier. And I was just like, I can't believe this is coming out of my mouth. This is so wrong. But that's
right.
been the standard for 20 years. So it was really like a big moment when COVID hit, because my husband's an orthodontist, my father-in-law's an orthodontist. So many people were coming to our house and we were helping them, and we were seeing the stress and the like, the terrible feeling of a child, having a wire stuck in his cheek for days and not
Right.
really knowing what to do about it, or
Yeah.
the emergency sequelae that we saw that was causing so many negative, impactful irritations and, gingivitis and periodontitis. And it was just awful. And I said, you know what? I need to do something to help these people. And so I was in the basement and I started drawing like all these little gadgets that I thought could be like a Swiss Army tool for a parent and for a patient. And that's kind of how Tweaks was born. And, Josh was kind of sitting behind me and he's like, don't forget the dental pick, and don't forget this. And what else do we need? And so it was kind of like a funny sort of, you know, picture that I drew. And then I stayed in that basement for hours, just thinking about everything that I could possibly think of that I wanted to create. And here came this pipeline of products that I called Ortho New. And there's over 26 products in the pipeline. There's, research at University of Pennsylvania, collaborations, we're preventive medicine innovation, and really a whole pipeline of products that essentially change the game in terms of what you leave when you leave the office as an orthodontic patient.
Okay, so these kids who have braces on their teeth and they hurt and they're hard to deal with, and you've developed a Swiss Army knife for kids with braces to take care of. Self-care is
Yes.
something that you focused on here.
Yeah.
And so there's devices to tell to me a little bit more about that, and then explain the product expansion that you've had to offer other products and product lines to help kids with braces.
Sure. So the first hero product was Tweaks for braces and Tweaks for aligners. And it's essentially the highest grade stainless steel made by the Hugh Freedy Group. And it's designed essentially like the arches. So a patient or parent just finds the wire that's long at the end of a bracket or the last tooth, usually, and they are able to just cut and hold any wire that's small or medium or large at any point of treatment. And essentially, it creates the ease of getting rid of an emergency that would have caused 2 hours to the office, staying there for 3 seconds, having to come out of school, of work, and just a whole series of, mishaps that don't need to be there. So this Tweaks is allowing you to cut the wire safely, efficiently, and remove that little piece so you don't swallow it. And then the other three tools are Diamond Dental File, which is if there's a wire that's too long to cut, you can just smooth it out. If it's too short, I'm sorry, if it's too short to cut, you can just smooth it out. There's a dislodge bracket remover. So if you have a self-ligating or a conventional bracket that's rolling around your wire, you can simply remove it, put it in a Ziploc bag, and bring it to the next visit. And then there's a sickle cell shaped tool that is going to help you with putting on rubber bands. So if you have class
Okay.
one, class two, or surgical elastics, it really helps to, that sometimes is an emergency that a patient doesn't know how to do it, and that's an extra visit. So that's tweaks for braces. And tweaks for aligners similarly has its own set of tools: a diamond dental file to remove any irritations on sharp or jagged edges of an aligner, a dental pick to remove food interproximally. Again, that tool that helps with the rubber bands. And then it has an aligner remover tool that's really easy, that doesn't distort the aligners like plastic tools do. So it really is a comprehensive sort of Leatherman of orthodontic tool that each person in braces or aligners can carry in either a case that it's an EVA case, it's water resistant, comes with a mirror. Doctors' logos go onto the case, and then
Okay.
carried around with a little carabiner. So it's a
So
great
the
marketing
doctors
tool.
who buy these from you then can
Yeah,
brand their own practice. That's an interesting approach too.
yeah, and
I
it's
like
just,
that.
and then
And then you have some other mouth treatments, from what I understand.
yes. So the line for oral emergency care, which I thought was definitely the first thing that people feel. They feel pain, they feel discomfort. So I focused really on, creating sort of an oral relief collection that would really solve for those immediate pains that they feel the minute they get their braces or aligners on. So with the tweaks, then came the oral relief kits. There's four consumable products that are interchangeable between braces and aligners. They're all made with functional and beneficial ingredients, and they're meant to help solve for all of the inflammation. So they're all antibacterial, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, and each one of them can be utilized for so many of the different things that you can imagine. So whether you have oral ulcers, you can use the mouth aid. If you have sensitive teeth and inflamed gums under your mouth guards or retainers, you can use the comfort tape. If you have an extraction site or a gingivectomy or a tad placed or a long wire that you don't have a tweaks to cut, you can manipulate the Chillin strips to, um, you know, go over to that area, and you can eat, drink, and sleep with it, and it dissolves for over 2 hours. And lastly, we have the Ortho Chews, which is, again, first ever dissolvable chew that lasts for over an hour, that replaces silicone chewies, but also it gives patients in braces and aligners something to bathe their mouth with ingredients that are going to decrease the pain and discomfort that they have. All four of these products come in different flavors, different categories. Like the next section will be the oral microbiome collection, and lastly, the oral aesthetic collection. So, what I tried to establish is, with this pipeline, everything you could potentially need, not only to care for your pain and discomfort, but also to take care of your microbiome throughout treatment. And at the end, have a beautiful, gorgeous smile without decalcifications and cavities and all the things that we worry about when those brackets come off.
That's phenomenal. That sounds like an exciting time that you've got here. Tell us, becoming an entrepreneur is very different than being a doctor. What are
Yes.
some of the challenges you faced,
Mm.
and how have you overcome those challenges to
Yeah.
get to where you're at right now?
Yeah, I think the hardest part of being orthodontist turned entrepreneur is that some of my greatest skill sets do not translate well into business. So being, overly compassionate and being really, vulnerable and, wanting to share and, be, happy and have conversations other than business, a lot of that met me with resistance, because people, when they talk about business, they just want to get it done. And so I found myself having to adjust a little bit of my personality for the situation. So I started to understand a little bit more about, how people relate in certain situations that I wasn't aware of, because I was dealing with kids and moms all day. So it was very different. So I started to read a lot of books about being a CEO, about being an entrepreneur, about business, about finances, and
About finance, yeah.
potentially, increasing my financial IQ, increasing my business IQ, and kind of understanding and conceptualizing what the person on the opposite of me is really thinking and what their needs are, which was very different than what I was used to. So it's been very challenging, and I'm still working on it. I don't know that.
I love what you're telling me here because it really feeds into what we're doing here at LeagueMed to help entrepreneurial medical practitioners to understand business challenges
Yes.
and finance
Hmm.
and marketing, and branding and logos and
Yeah.
all these things that you've done here. It's very exciting to me. What stage is your company at? How would you describe the stage of your company that you've gone through the startup? You've got products, you've got sales. Where are you now?
Right now, I would say I'm in the growth phase where I think I'm looking to build an infrastructure with experienced C-suite executives that now know how to take the brand and the foundation that I built in the last 2 years and take it to the next level. And these are the times that are probably the most pivotal and exciting, because this is, I think, where everything will turn, where the right people coming in can take OrthoNew to a whole nother level, and they can really help to scale the company and the products and bring out the pipeline and really get it to be a standard of care in the industry.
That's really a very important point that you make. Is that I've helped startup for a while now, and there's two different types of companies. You start up and you're doing everything by yourself and you're moving 1,000 miles an hour and you're got to a certain level of success. But the fact that you're recognizing the need to expand your team and to bring in a different set of skills to the organization to help facilitate the growth. That's an important thing that not many entrepreneurs have. A lot of founders and inventors
Mhm.
hold on to their baby and they don't want to let it go. So it's a great point that you're making there.
Well, I think, with anything in life, you have to find people that are much smarter than you, and you have to surround yourself with people that know what they're doing, that have done this before. And as much as I can learn a whole lot of skill sets and continue to read and listen to podcasts, there's still a level of expertise that I don't have. And I'm happy and excited to find the right strategic partners to be able to help me. And I think that the team will be amazing and will do amazing things.
So do you see long term, do you see you growing this company to be a standalone, or do you think that you would have an exit selling to a bigger dental supply company, or where would your organizational growth lead to at the end of the day?
Yeah, so my vision is that once we get the right team of C-suite executives to be able to scale and build the company, I think there would be many dental companies that would really want to merge with OrthoNew, because of the fact that it is the analog solution to complement so many of the technologies that they are trying to aspire to have and succeed in. So that is my goal, is to become part of something bigger and to be
Okay.
able to work as the head inventor and really be hands-on with all the things that I feel I can add value to.
Your experience as a hands-on dentist, orthodontist, aesthetic dentistry, it's a big business now, and distribution is a big challenge. Are you going directly to orthodontists, or are you going direct to consumer? How are you selling your product right now?
Yeah, so the business model has been very complicated, I think, from the very beginning, because we assumed that going, to a distributor would be the right move, not having any awareness of the fact that if we had gone that way, nobody would have known Ortho New, nobody would have known the brand, and we would have been in a catalog, and nothing would have come from that. So we actually were approached very early on by a lot of different big distributors, and we actually declined. And we started to build our own brand awareness through the orthodontist, through the dentist, through articles of dental magazines and publications and podcasts. And our name became a standard in the industry. And now I think we're well known. So fast forward, we were trying to really do the B2B cycle, B2B strategy business model, where it's a very long sales cycle. But a lot of the dental companies are seeing the benefit of having a treatment starter kit that they can incorporate with their products that they can sell through to the orthodontics practices and the DSOs and the OSOs. So that is our business model right now. As far as the D2C, I think that comes organically with having the consumables be part of an orthodontic practice where the patient can easily go online and be able to order a subscription model. If they want 20 packages of mouth aid every 3 months, or if they need 10 packs of chillin strips because they received one in their treatment starter kit. So it lends itself to many different verticals down the road. But right now, our strategy is still B2B.
That's fantastic. I really love the way you think and the way you'd be able to establish your company. Um, you joined LeagueMed as one of the early investors to LeagueMed.
Yeah.
You got your entrepreneurial spirit going here. What made you decide to invest in LeagueMed? What do you like about LeagueMed?
Well, I loved Steve. He was the first person I met, and my husband had met him as well, and obviously John. And they just seemed like, great people. And I met a lot of their team, and I really believed in them. And I thought that what they were doing was really important for, like you said earlier, for all these medical practitioners that don't really have an understanding of the business the way business people do, to be able to kind of integrate the two and be able to help everybody achieve great success and really bring the innovation to the table, bring people together that would never really ever meet if they weren't in the same
Right.
category, and bringing all these great minds together and kind of putting great smart people all into a room, and being able to extend all of the potential successes is really remarkable if you think about it. So I thought it was a no-brainer. I was like, sign me
Okay.
up.
Well, that's great. I think the building of the community, bringing intelligent people together on our platform, bringing innovation and education about finance and investment and business to a group of medical practitioners and healthcare executives who are on the community in the community on the platform. It's a really positive approach to funding new innovative research. How have you funded your company to date?
Yes. Well, at first, I started off with our family funds. We spent over $300,000 just investing in the patents, the R&D, and that was really important to me to really establish, a foundation of what OrthoNew was built on. Then we raised our first friends and family round. We raised $1.5 million at a 10 million valuation. And we are currently in our extension of that round to raise another 1.5 at a $15 million valuation.
Okay, that's great. And now you've got these steps, and this is something you've learned as well as an entrepreneur. You don't get your $100 million valuation out of the box.
No.
Ideas don't give you valuation. So it's wonderful that you've been able to achieve this level of growth, and we look forward to maybe putting you on this platform at some point and build that community to raise the funds for your growth in the future. This has been a great conversation so far. So let's try to do 5 questions in 5 minutes. It's really hard to do. And we've done this. You're our third guest on 5x5. So I'm going to ask 5 questions and see if you can do succinct answers to get this in 5 minutes.
Okay.
So, what motivated you to become a dentist, aesthetic dentist, and then an orthodontist? What made dentistry a particular focus for you?
It was the orthodontist in the emergency room that put my teeth back together, that looked like Santa Claus, that told me that good things would come from all of this and that I was going to succeed and help other people in life. And I
Well,
believed him.
you did a good job. You have a beautiful smile,
Mhm.
and you've decided to become an entrepreneur and leave clinical practice. What was the deciding factor to make you decide to become an entrepreneur?
because I felt that I could add so much value to the other end of the patient that I did not have access to. And I thought I should really do some research and investigation on all the things that I could create that were, science based. And I felt that that would be an extension of my education to be able to help patients when they were outside the office.
Helping people when they leave the office. I like that. And, what are the benefits of tweaks in your oral care line of products? What are the primary benefits that you think of your product line at OrthoNew?
I believe it changes the standard of care to a very elevated and inspirational um, way for patients and parents to really see themselves as not just patients, but patients that can really have control over their health and happiness, not only inside the office, but years after they leave us orthodontists. And I feel that it's really beneficial because no one's ever done these types of products before that have integrated science and research into products that are applicable to real emergencies and real issues dealing with the oral microbiome and dealing with the oral cavity. So that's really exciting to me to be able to be the first to introduce these products as a standard of care. And I think these products will extend into many different specialties of dentistry and medicine as well, given the foundation and the integration of multiple ingredients in different categories.
Well, giving patients control of their own health when they're
Correct.
not inside the office. You've hit on a very important point in the overall healthcare ecosystem now, is giving people control that they lack right now. What advice would you give to anybody who's got a new idea? If they're a medical practitioner, what advice would you give to an entrepreneurial medical practitioner?
I would say find a mentor in the industry that has done something similar and try to establish a relationship very early on with people that are experts in the field to really bypass a lot of the nuances that an innocent entrepreneur goes through. I think it will extend the rate of success for them, and I think it will be a powerful path to be able to follow rather than navigating it on their own for a couple of years before that happens.
What was the hardest part about learning business and finance coming from a medical background?
I feel that I didn't really have the financial IQ necessary to really understand or relate to the terminology that people were speaking with me on.
Mhm.
Like even the simplest terms, like I would have to look up because I didn't really know what they meant. I'd never heard of them before. So it was really just learning a different language. And I felt, compelled, just like I did in orthodontic school, to just learn everything I could about it. And that's what I did. And I did good, like I education in my
Well,
vocabulary.
us people that are involved with science love to learn,
Yeah.
and we just aren't taught the right things when we're in college when to become a business person.
No.
Semantics and language are just different. Learning a new language, and just to wrap up the last questions here, this has been a great conversation. What would you think are the best things about LeagueMed that we can give to healthcare practitioners that they don't currently get in their lives?
Great question. I believe LeagueMed can give medical practitioners the ability to be introduced to the greatest of people, not in their industry as well as in their industry, to collaborate with, minds that they would never have otherwise been introduced to, and to be able to start a platform for themselves for innovation or for things that they aspire to do as medical practitioners. And I think LeagueMed can provide the right expertise, the right connections, the right platform for medical practitioners to really extend what their value is into the field and the industry in which they're in.